From LALATE News Headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. As checks are now depositing, and have you got to them? I'll show you how to get your check in today's recording. We have a lot of breaking news across this big broadcast live on air from Santa Monica, California, as Joe Biden's White House team has a series of new comments off the record today about the Build Back Better Act and about GDP. Why are the comments off the record? All the latest details in today's recording. Oh boy, is it getting dicey in today's breaking news. Then we'll be going over to what Jay Powell is doing and not doing, and what those latest developing details signal across the board. Plus, a big surprise, as now 2 states, yeah, you heard me right, 2 states are sending out stimulus checks. This is big, and by the end of the week, we could have more states sending out stimulus checks. Why is this happening? All the latest breaking news across the board. Are you ready for those state stimulus checks? I'm going to now feature them in today's and throughout today's recordings. Plus, we have newest news about home starts in the United States economy, and those numbers missed again. This is after the number continued to miss the month of March. What's going on? We have a big surprise with oil. When we thought we were short of about 1.5 million barrels a day, guess what? We're potentially short 4 million barrels a day. What happened? I'll go over why that oil shortage could get actually worse than it is. And yeah, that means more gasoline prices going even higher. I've had latest details across the board. Plus, big shocker as new student loan debt has been forgiven. This is in addition to the student loan debt that was forgiven last week. A new round of student loan debt forgiveness across the board. Plus, we'll be going over those big checks that are landing in people's bank accounts. Direct deposit for stimulus checks. Boy, folks, we got a great recording because the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, the coffee is brewing, and the state stimulus checks landing and the federal stimulus checks landing. Direct depositing across the board. All that big news starts right now from the shores of Santa Monica, California, on a live broadcast of Mornings. And good morning, everybody. Having a beautiful day for this big morning of April 21st, 2022. We are live on air from Santa Monica, California for Mornings LA. We have a lot of breaking news this morning about your big checks. Over to this broadcast, over this approximately less than 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over the latest checks. State stimulus checks have now landed, and there could be more in the next few days. And then federal stimulus checks have now landed as well. Direct deposited for stimulus checks. How do you get them? They're coming up in this recording. But first, let's start with the breaking news for this morning for April 21st, 2022. Minutes ago, we had a series of new comments that came out of the White House that says that the White House believes that the gross national product of the U.S. economy will drop from where it is right now to 3.7% by the end of this year. These comments are off the record. Now, this is really fascinating. First, why are the comments off the record? Second, what about that number, 3.7%? Is it good or bad? And also, what does it mean for what's going on with the White House? The White House's comments are off the record, and the reason they're off the record is because the number's actually not that good a number. The U.S. economy has something called the gross national product, the GDP. Other countries have as well. And when the number is negative, it means you're in recession. When the number's flat, it means you're about to go into recession. When the number's big, it means the U.S. economy is growing. Business is growing. You're making more money. So where's the number right now? The number is currently missing benchmarks this month of April. They're projecting 7.1%. It came in at 6.9%. So it's shrinking. It's slower than less than expected. Wall Street analysts just days ago predicted that the GDP will go to 4% later this year. What is this comment today off the record by a White House official? 3.7% is where they're projecting the gross national product to be by the end of the year for the U.S. economy. This is that White House official off the record. So what does that mean? It means that the number shows, according to the official, that the U.S. economy will shrink dramatically from where it is right now, 6.9% growth, to only 3.7% by the end of the year. Ouch. Now, let's go over the rest of the quote. The rest of the quote said the White House official was excited because the numbers are actually good, comparing the U.S. economy's growth projections compared to those for Germany, 2.1%, South Korea, 2.5%, and also the United Kingdom, 3.7%. Here comes the analysis starting right now. First, the reason why the comments are off the record. In my opinion, the reason why the comments are off the record is because the number is very poor. It's a very bad number. It signals that Wall Street has a higher projection for growth than even the White House thinks it is. The White House actually thinks it's worse. Again, Wall Street thinks that we're going to grow over 4% by the end of the year. White House saying, no, I don't think it's that high. We're going to go to only 3.7%. Next, it basically signals that something in the White House right now is not working, because if the growth rate currently right now is projected at 6.9%, it's going to shrink to 3.7% by the end of the year. That means that something in the White House's economic policy is not working. Wow. That is why the comment's off the record. The comment's also off the record because it doesn't make sense. Who said this stuff? Brian DC? Brian, did you write this stuff? I think he did. Who said this nonsense? Well, the part of the comment that makes no sense is that the White House is excited that the growth rate is 3.7% this later this year compared to South Korea. Someone make a note for that White House official. The U.S. economy is much bigger than the economy of South Korea. So the growth rate should be bigger growth, bigger economy. To say that South Korea is growing at 2.5%, we're happy that the U.S. is 3.7%. That makes no sense. So, what should you know? What you should know is that 24 hours ago, the White House said that it was going to refocus in its economic policy, domestic policy, to front and center. Remember that details last night on News LALATE. I'll have more about tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That the White House understood that Americans are getting a little bit tired of hearing about money to Ukraine, and they wanted to hear more about economic policy. And that's why the White House is refocusing on Build Back Better Act, the bill that's currently in the Senate, to get it done quicker and faster than in recent days. So what did the White House do today since that refocusing yesterday? They gave more money to Ukraine. I can't make this stuff up, folks. Yeah. So the U.S. White House announced minutes ago it's dedicating $1.5 billion more to Ukraine today, on top of what was dedicated already as of yesterday. This is coming after yesterday when they said they're going to refocus the attention back on spending on money on the U.S. economy. Now, let me tell you why today's announcement is really not focusing. Why? Because the quote today, or the title of the story, is basically the U.S. is giving $1.5 million to Ukraine. Most Americans who read that type of a title to a story say it's cash. And I've been always saying on this recording, it's not cash, it's military equipment. It's a tank, it's trained military officials. It's not pure cash. Well, today I can't really say that. Why? Because the title of the articles today say they're giving $1.5 million of military and economic support to Ukraine. So anyone who doesn't read the body of the story of that type of story and sees the title says, no, LA, it's $1.5 million for economy, that's cash, and also for tanks. Here's the problem, is that the body of the article, most people won't read. Most people won't see that the body of the article is $500 million for economic support to Ukraine, and the rest is for military support. $500 million is not a lot of money, folks, but the takeaway is that the optics are very bad. The optics, once again, is we're sending money to Ukraine, and its economic recovery, even though it's not a lot of money, it's only $500 million. Most Americans can see that and say, where are you focusing on us? So the White House needs to really focus on Build Back Better Act. And why does it need to focus bigger and bolder than ever before? It's because the economic data is misses. And guess what's also happening in today's breaking news for April 21st, 2022, is that a series of new reports out of the U.S. banks or investment firms says that it's a higher likelihood than ever before that we're going into 2 years of recession. Goldman Sachs is the latest bank to be quoted in a new report out today that says they have a now 35% projection that the U.S. economy will go into 2 years of recession. That comes out of Goldman Sachs this morning. I had already told you we are going to recession. I already told you that housing and auto is in recession. And then I also told you that after I said that comment for over a month, that Deutsche Bank has already given a projection. We are going in recession. It's different to say we are going versus a projection we may go in. Goldman Sachs, we may go in 35%. Jamie Dimon, head JP Morgan Chase, won't say we are going in, but saying it may go into it. Deutsche Bank saying we are going in there. So why is this big, important details for Build Back Better Act? Build Back Better Act is gaining new support as economic data continues to come on in, and the economic data is not good. A series of economic data reports continue to surface across the board, and it shows that the U.S. economy is really stalling up. If the U.S. economy is stalling up, then we need Build Back Better Act. And what is the breaking news? First, sales of existing homes dropped in the month of March 2.7%. Sound like a repetitive story? It is, because the new housing starts, which refers to home sales, down 4 consecutive months. Here's another month down. Housing continues to slump. They're not selling homes. Down for another consecutive month. And let's look at this data that came in yesterday, late yesterday, April 20th. Sales of existing homes down 2.7%, but if you look across low-income homes, middle-class homes, and many millionaires' homes, they're all down. Let's look at the numbers. The numbers for homes less than $100,000 down 30%, actually down 21%. So homes for low income less than $100,000 down 21% sales year to date compared to March of 2021. When looking at homes in the middle income range, 750 or less, they're down 30%. When looking at homes 1 million or more, they're down 25%. So the situation across the board is that the number of homes selling continues to slump. What's also at issue? Consumer Price Index number, which is really teeing up your SS300. Remember how SS300 works? Joe Biden, when running for president of the United States, said, and then when becoming president of the United States, also resaid that he's going to swap your COLA for inflation. COLA is your current benchmark. Every December, they look at that COLA. That number is flat. You don't get any raise of your benefits. That's happened for many decades. But then COLA last December came in at 5%. So your benefits went up 5%. Not just this year, not just this month, a lifetime. Because once your benefits go up, they never go down. Now, you got cheated. Why did you get cheated? Because inflation was 8% in December. Yeah, if you had been tied to inflation, your benefits would have gone up 8% lifetime, not up 5% for COLA. So Joe has promised in his presidential platform to swap COLA for inflation. Let's go over the part of that equation starting right now. Where is inflation today? In December, it was 8%, but where is it today? Well, yours truly has projected correctly inflation day after day, week after week for over a year. I said it was 8% in January, it was. I said it was 8% in February, it was. I said in March, it's likely a little bit higher than 8%. It was. We learned just days ago. The CPI numbers, the Consumer Price Index number, was released for the month of March, and it showed that inflation was a little bit hotter than February. It came in 1/3 of a percentage point higher than the month of February. Now, when we look at the individual items across the board, they came in dramatically hotter from the month of February to the month of March. Let's look at how that Consumer Price Index number looked across the board. Again, a 0.3% increase for March compared to the month of February. Wall Street looking at half a percentage point increase. But when we look at the individual products, we have oil going up 11%. February to March. That is a massive increase, and we're not just done there yet. Citrus fruits, vegetables gained 2% February to March. In 1 month, 4 weeks, most foods across the board were up 1 percentage point across the board. So what does this mean? It means that inflation is higher in March than it was in February. Good for you if Joe makes that swap from COLA to inflation. If it makes that swap from COLA to inflation or tells the Social Security Administrator had to do it, then you lock in 8%. 8% is about $200 more per month. Not just this month, not just this year, lifetime. Now, you want him to lock it in before inflation goes down. Who's trying to get it down? Jay Powell. He's head of the Federal Reserve, and his job is to reduce inflation. How does he do it? He raises interest rates. But does it work or does it not work? Jay Powell's current trajectory, in my projection, is he will have a half basis point increase for interest rates for the next two FOMC meetings in the hope of bringing down inflation. And that he will tell you he will be bringing down inflation, as he said last meeting, as his Fed governors like Bullard and Daly said as well. And that Jay Powell will continue to say he's getting inflation down to 1.9% later this year. Gonna work? No, of course not. Here's what you need to know, is that Jay Powell is trying to talk down inflation, but he's not going to be able to get it down. Good news for your benefits, because if inflation is still at 8% when Joe makes that swap, then you lock in that additional benefits. What about later this year? Later this year, I project that inflation will still be about 4%. I don't think that Jay Powell's going to get down to 1.9%. That would be great news for you, because that would be another $100 on top of the $200. Remember, once your benefits go up, they never go down. That's SS300. So what is Jay Powell going to try to do over the next 2 months? He's going to try to say, I'm getting it down. And he's not. Why? Because of supply chain disruption. There's now not one, not two, but three supply chain disruptions. And what happens with supply chain disruption is that Jay Powell has no tools to get down inflation when it's caused by supply chain disruption. But he's going to act like he can, and he's not going to be able to do it. What's going to be the net result? The net result is that interest rates will go higher. Your mortgage will go higher if it's flexible. Your student loan debt, if it's being paid, will go up higher. Your car payment will go up higher. Anything that is debt will go up higher because interest rates will go higher. But inflation will go down? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me tell you why. First, the first supply chain disruption is pre-Putin. It is coming out of COVID. Last year, when we came out of those lockdowns, we didn't have truckers or shippers to get those products to you. We still have that supply chain disruption. The second one is Putin. Putin's caused massive supply chain disruption. And the third one is China. The White House talks about inflationary pressures today, and guess who also talks about it? The state of New York. The state of New York's governor says, you know what? We may have to keep our mask mandate in position because the subvariant of Omicron is now in the state of New York. That's causing more inflation. They're not likely to say China. Why? They don't want to mention, I think, for some political reason, but I got to tell you, China's supply chain disruption is the worst of the three. What's going on? You buy that sofa in the store, it comes from China, potentially. And that China sofa can't get to you because of supply chain disruption. What's going on? China's suffering major lockdowns, real big lockdowns, because of the subvariant of Omicron in China. So the products that we make in manufacture in China can't get back to here. The products that are Chinese made, that are sold to us, imported to us, we can't get as well. Their supply chain disruption causing massive price inflation. And guess what? Jay Powell has no tools to get down that type of inflation. It's called price inflation. He has no tools, but he will tell you he does have tools. Takeaway is that it's not going to happen. Now, what is going to happen is student loan debt forgiveness. Wow, this is a biggie, folks. In less than 7 days, the President of the United States has had 6 executive orders approximately for student loan debt forgiveness. Another one came in last night. Did you see it on Evenings LA last night? I hope you did. If you didn't, I'm going to go over it right now. Another student loan debt forgiveness has now come on in. And what's at issue? Let's go over. First, let's recap. The President of the United States, right after he became president, forgave student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation, went to work in the nonprofit sector of the public sector after graduation. Then, just days ago, the president said as the student loan debts that you don't have to repay them in May. I'm going to roll over to September. Then we got even better news after that. The president said that if your debts are in default, he'll put them in good standing. Then came another executive order. The president said, if your student loan debts were the result of fraudulent activity by your school against you, I'm going to forgive your student loan debts completely. Wow, that is a biggie. And then came another one last night. Millions, tens of thousands, 100,000. We have no idea how many students are going to have their debts forgiven. And this one is a very complicated one. I don't know a lot about loans, so I'm going to tell you the keywords to look up. First, you want to go to the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, Secretary of Education, because he'll have press releases. It's Miguel Cardona. He'll have press releases on his website and have links. But I'm going to give you some keywords for you to look up if you want to find these new student loan debts. The issue is that the Department of Education says it will make one-time adjustments to allow borrower accounts to provide credit towards loan forgiveness. What's at issue? Here come the keywords you want to look up and write down. First, if the government is trying to do more IDR credits. The Undersecretary Miguel Cardona said, and that's James Cavall, we have an ongoing rulemaking that would take a look at what type of statutes we could modify for IDR credit that may be potential uses for the rules to allow process going forward. What are they doing? They're changing the statute so that you can have more loans forgiven. Change the statute so that some of the loans are forgiven. Then the next series of words you want to write down are the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. The Education Secretary says these changes will take place and affect those 40,000 borrowers under the PSLF. And then you want to look at income-based repayment programs. Those debts are getting modified as well, so more of those can be forgiven across the board. Very exciting news. Now, suddenly you see what's going on with the White House. Repivoting, saying we need to refocus on the domestic agenda, trying to get the Build Back Better Act done. Then doing 6 executive orders in 7 days for student loan debt forgiveness. Wow, a lot of movement there. And then guess what's also happening? What's also happening is the President of the United States is sending out fourth stimulus checks by direct deposit. Wow, this is exciting. How do you get them? They're coming up in a second. But out of nowhere, one after another state is now sending out stimulus checks, or at least proposing. Let me tell you the landscape. Let me explain to you what's going on, and let me give you a projection of where we're going and what's this big news for members as well. First, the membership newsletter for members generally has nothing for state stimulus in it ever. But because we're now at 2 states that are already proposing state stimulus checks, I'm going to start including state stimulus checks in the member newsletter for you, whether it is a proposed check or whether it's an actual check that's been voted upon. If you haven't become a member, make sure you become a member. Where's that link? It's at the top of the chat in the pinned comment. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Then get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. Yes, now it'll feature those state stimulus checks. What's going on? What's going on is that 2 days ago, the state of Pennsylvania said, we're considering sending you a $2,000 stimulus check from Pennsylvania to you. Why? I'll get to that in a second. And then today, Maine saying we're considering sending you a $500 stimulus check from us to you. Why? What's going on? It's more important for you to know what's going on than the amount of the check. And let me explain. If this all looks familiar, it should. It mirrors what happened in 2020. Remember back in 2020, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary then, and Nancy Pelosi were arguing over something, which I recorded a lot about at the time. It's how much money states have. Nancy Pelosi said the states were going bankrupt. Steve Mnuchin said, no, the states have a lot of money. They have a lot of extra money from first stimulus, which they can spend on you for second stimulus. Ultimately, what Steve Mnuchin did in that fall of 2020 is that he said, the states have so much money, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell the states you have a deadline to spend the money from first stimulus, or you use it or you lose it. You either use the money or you lose it. And what did he say at the time? You got to spend the money or you got to return it back to me, your Treasury Secretary. That's what's happening right now, just with a different stimulus package. The same notion is happening right now, and it's under Janet Yellen. The states were given massive sums of money by Joe Biden and Janet Yellen under the third stimulus package. Yeah, that's the one with the MSC check. Those states were supposed to spend the third stimulus money. They haven't, and they have a lot of it. So they have a new deadline. The states have to December 2022 to spend or lose, use or lose. There's no extension of the deadline, folks. And so the states have been ordered to spend the money somehow or return it back to the federal government. And guess what? The states don't want to return it back. They want to spend it. Let's look at this December date. To spend the money, they need to send the money to you certainly far before December, November, October, because they got to spend it. They can't just talk about it. They actually have to spend the money. We saw this back in 2020 where states were rushing out the checks. That's why they got to get the checks out to you by about October-ish, at least, if not earlier. Now, to get you a check by October or August, they got to queue it up for a bill. And that bill in the state requires weeks and weeks of work. And that weeks and weeks of work needs to start right now. It takes weeks and weeks to create the bill, then pass it in the state's House, the state's Senate, your state, not the federal government, and then call for a vote and then have the governor of this respective state vote on it. That comes after they decide they're going to spend the money on you. That is why I believe in the next few days you're going to see a lot more states saying, yeah, we have a lot of money left. We have to start to spend it right away because we're going to run out on that deadline of December any minute. So use or lose, congratulations to Maine and Pennsylvania, which are now proposing to send those checks out there. I'll be featuring more about the other states as they come in, and when they are, they'll be featured in the membership newsletter. But the big news is that the federal government is also sending out stimulus checks. Not one, not two, but three. How do you get them? They're coming up later in this video. Meantime, what you're going to see in the month of April is not one, but several stimulus packages overlapping. Why? You have third happening right now. You have fourth happening right now. You have seventh with student loan debt forgiveness happening right now. I just went over that. And you're likely to also have sixth stimulus. That's that big one to battle recession. What's going on with the sixth stimulus? What's the oil? It's the wheat. And what do we learn overnight? Well, we learned overnight that we're much more short on oil barrels per day than we originally thought. Russia accounts for 3 million barrels produced per day internationally for all countries. Those 3 million barrels no longer part of the equation. Then, how many barrels of oil did we try to produce domestically, and also for our Western allies to recap those missing 3 million barrels? The United States releasing 1 million barrels a day for 6 months. That is 1 versus 3 missing. Not very much there yet. Then the Western allies proposing 500,000 barrels a day. They got that done a few days ago. Now we're 1.5 million barrels to replace 3 million barrels missing. And then came the breaking news yesterday. It got worse. Yeah. We learned yesterday that in the month of March, OPEC Plus and OPEC reportedly produced 1.45 million barrels less than its target. Oh boy. 1.5 million barrels less and 3 million barrels missing from Russia. That's 4.5 million barrels minus. And we're replacing with 1.5. Yeah, with now 3 million barrels missing per day. That's why the price of gasoline and oil is likely to get a lot worse than better. That's why the price of gasoline at the pump is still going higher. That's why the international price of Brent crude is tracking higher. And that's why 6 stimulus is needed to battle the prices of oil getting higher and the wheat getting worse. Wheat and corn is likely to track even higher than initially at its current price point. It's a 10-year high because of the supply chain disruption, and it could go as much as 40% higher. That's why you need checks. And in the second half of this video, we go over 3 checks that have now landed, direct deposited, sent out by the White House and the government agencies. And how to get these big checks? You stay with me. I'm going to go over them in the second half of this big morning's broadcast, live on air. But first, become a member, because the membership newsletter features all these big checks. As Carol said in the live chat last night, LALATE, you make it so simple. You make it so simple to get these big checks. You put it all together, and that newsletter is so clear. Thank you, because she got big sums of money this week. Become a member. The link's at the top of the chat, the pinned comment. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. And the second half of this video, we'll go over all these big checks. It's exciting. They're landed, direct deposited, but you gotta pounce to get them. How do you get them? Stay with me. As Mornings LA continues live on air, I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook,
Twitter and Instagram, individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues on a live broadcast from Santa Monica, California today for April 21st, 2022. Great news. The President of the United States is really stepping up. He's stepping up with a lot of executive orders to get you money. First, no less than 6 executive orders in 7 days to student loan debt forgiveness. Wow, great news there. And now, 4 stimulus checks and 3rd stimulus checks, direct depositing to viewers of this channel. It's huge. How do you get these big checks? Get your pen and paper ready. We're going over these big checks right now. They're landed, direct deposited, and I'm so excited for viewers who have gotten it. You should be the next viewer as well. Let's go over the 3 checks. As Carol last night said, Ellie, you make it so simple. So let's go over the details starting right now. A 4 stimulus check has landed, direct deposit for $6,500 if you're bouncing. How do you get it? I'm going to go over in just 1 second. It became law March 31st. Then a $15,000 to $80,000 4 stimulus check is direct depositing March 4th since 2022. Huge. And then MSD checks amounting to at least $24,000 are direct depositing as well. How do you get these big checks? Here you go. Take notes, but if you're a member of this channel, you can just follow along with the newsletter as I go over the details starting right now. First, a $6,500 check is direct depositing because it became law in March. It's $6,500 to $12,000 across the board. What is this? This is a 4 stimulus check. And that 4 stimulus check was in Build Back Better Act at the second cluster, but now it was taken out by Joe Biden in late March, and it's now law. He made it law by executive action. And to get that check, it's so darn simple. Let's go over the details of it. First, it's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. It pays $6,500 to $12,000 for you. The income qualifications are easy breezy. So simple. $75,000 less, single individual, married couple, $150,000 less. Wow, that's easy. If you're on benefits, you can get it, as other viewers have as well. You can get it if you are on SSI, Social Security, or Veterans Benefits, or similar. What is this? It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. And the last qualification is that you own a home. So how do you get that check? Let's go over the details. You become a member. The link is at the top of the chat. Pin comment, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Countstino VIP. Join today. Then get that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, delivered via the YouTube alert system. Open the newsletter, and right towards the very top, after the price of oil and wheat and grain today, is this $6,500 check. It will have more details about what the money can be used for, and then it'll have the link. You click the link and it'll send you into the nationwide website. Then you choose your state, like Mississippi Weatherizing Grant Check, and you pounce, and you get funded. Direct deposit it, baby. Huge check across the board. Let's go to that check B. Even better, because it's a lot more money. Look at this massive check. This is astronomical. When have you ever seen a stimulus check this big in recent months? It's $15,000 to $80,000. Viewers are getting stimulus checks of $66,000 to $80,000 direct deposit. What is this? It's a 4 stimulus check. Next. It's called the Homeowners Grant Check. Third. It pays for a lot of great stuff, like property taxes, like home repairs. Huge across the board. The income qualification is the same as A. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. And if you're on benefits, you can get it as well. So what do you do with this check? Same as A. You go to that membership newsletter. Check B is featured right under Check A. It'll explain more about the eligibility, more about the wonderful things you can use this great money for. And then it'll have the link to go into the national website. You'll see a map like this. Then you choose your state. Click your state on the map, like Oklahoma. It will send you into your respective state, and then you apply. So simple. Viewers who apply and say they're approved, they get funded within about a week. That is just wonderful. Look at this great money, $15,000 to $80,000. Then, third stimulus checks of MSCs, $2,000 a month for over 12 months, are direct depositing. How do you get these checks? Where do they come from? Let's go over the details of these checks, starting a little bit back into 2020. Back in 2020, we saw Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi negotiating the second stimulus package. And it was Christmas and you needed money. And I said, I'm going to find you some money. There wasn't a lot around. It was December 2020. So I found it in rent and utilities and mortgage assistance. And I said, here you go. Go get it. And viewers got it. Like Tyrone and his family four out of Boston, got $15,000 for his rent. Huge sums of money, covering all his rent from 5 months of rent. It was actually more than $50,000, covering his rent from December to February of the next year. The great surprise at the time was I had a preview, an exclusive document of a new piece of legislation. I coined the expression third stimulus, like I coined the expression from fourth and fifth and sixth. And I said, if this becomes law, folks, you're going to get the same items again, just a lot more money. So I said, let me train you how to get these items. And when third stimulus became a law, I said, I can get you about $15,000. I was wrong. Viewers on average got $45,000. It was huge. That's because they had been trained and they had listened really well. Let's look at the success stories for the people who got these massive checks leading into the MSC checks. Look at these massive sums of money that viewers got. These are monthly checks, direct deposit. Elizabeth getting $27,000 for rent, all the way to Nisi. Look at all these massive checks, $25,000, $24,000. Utilities. Mark's brother-in-law getting $15,000 for utilities as well. Massive monthly stimulus checks. Look at this. And then we look at the combos. Wow, we're getting bigger at $32,000. Let's look at even bigger numbers. Mark getting $32,000. Then he went to over $50,000. Then he had to $100,000. Now he's at $166,000. Yeah, you heard me right. $166,000. Lorraine, she was at $105,000. Now she's at $120,000. So what happened? Early in 2022, actually, let me go back to late 2021. I told people to get another round. So they got another round last summer, 3 to 4 months. They got another round last Christmas. Our Christmas was 3 to 4 months. And then this January, I said, get another 3 to 4 months. They did it. They got 12 months. 12 months? I said, how did you get 12 months? They pushed and they took the knowledge of the recordings with them. And instead of getting a round of 3 or 4 months, they got 12 months of checks, averaging $2,000 a month. Massive, massive payment. Direct deposit, MSC checks, huge. And so how do you get it? Let's go over the details of it right now. If you're in the live chat and you've had a success story like this, whether it's $1 or $10,000, jump in the live chat and post your success stories, whether it's recent or longer out, because it inspires other people. How do you get these big checks? Let's go over the details right now. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, and your state hall, and your state housing authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know, like MSC or waivable check. Then reach out to all 6 places. But hold up, if you're a member of this channel, which I hope you are, you're going to have more than 6 places to reach out to. You're going to have about a dozen and a half, because you're also going to reach out to the nonprofits. Yeah, you can try longer than just a few rounds. Go for a whole year. Become a member, because these organizations you can reach out to, like the nonprofits, are in the membership newsletter. That gives you more places to reach out to. That's why Johnny, he got $80,000 in 5 days from this channel. He reached out to his 2 family members. He got them both $50,000. And then he helped countless people in his neighborhood. He got them, I think it was $350,000, about 20 people over a few weeks. Get these big sums of money. That's why you want to become a member. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment, because that incredible newsletter, Monday through Friday, because you deserve these sums of money. Pounce right today. Get these checks. Average $45,000. Don't wait. Get it today. You deserve it. Get these big sums of money across the board. How do you do it? Become a member. The link is at the top of the chat, pinned comment. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Then watch for that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system. And remember, subscribe. Go to the top of the chat and hit that subscribe button, that bell, or at the front of the channel, hit that subscribe button. Then go to the front of the channel. There's a bell. You want to hit that bell so it's set to all notifications, so you do not miss a check. Finally, some commentary from me as well. Interesting thing I want to talk about. Never thought I would talk about this, but this is very fascinating across the board, which is me, you, and chatting in a live chat. Here's what you need to know, is that the recordings are made on this channel to show you how to get the money and how to be informed. Every recording is based upon your questions. Been that way since day one. I've gotten people about $35 million, at least since day one of this channel. We're approaching our 2-year anniversary in just a few days, April 25th. But in recent days, I've seen something interesting where people jump into the live chat and start writing questions. Now, you can do whatever you want to do, but let me tell you what happens when you do that. A video's recording, a playing, let's say it's Evenings LA, tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, a 1-hour broadcast covering 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th stimulus over 1 hour. It's a lot going on in one video. It's a lot of information. And as soon as the video starts to play, you start typing something. Can someone explain to me where, whatever the question is, you're focusing on typing, maybe you made an editing change, you're backspacing, you're fixing your typo, then you're pushing it, and then you finish the writing it. That took you, 3 minutes to write a question? Then you push it, then you're staying at the screen waiting for someone to respond to the question. That takes another 5 minutes, and then maybe no one responds. Maybe someone responds to the wrong answer, or maybe the answer confuses you. And now it's been 10 minutes. Guess what happened? You've missed 10 minutes of the recording. You haven't listened to 10 minutes of the recording, because a lot of us can multitask well, but no one can multitask good enough that you can listen to the recording, watch the recording, and also type a message and watch the responses coming in. What happens then after those 10 minutes is you say to yourself, no one answered my question. Let me turn to the video. Well, the video just played for 10 minutes. You missed what that video just said for 10 minutes. What I'm recommending to you is that the purpose of the live chat is for people to interact. About what's going on that day in that recording. The purpose of the recording is not for you to tune off, not focus, not listen, or not watch the recording and suddenly pivot and start to lean on people in the live chats. Now, let's be even more frank. The people in the live chat may not know the answer correct. They may give you the incorrect information. They may give you incomplete information, or they may give you confusing information. And so suddenly then they confused you and you missed the correct answer, which was me. And here's another part of the recording. You're ignoring me. You're ignoring me. I made a recording for you to help you, and you're ignoring me by talking to someone in the chat to answer your question. Don't do it, because ultimately what's going to happen is that there's so much in the recording you're going to miss the answers to your question. Now, ultimately, if you watch the whole recording and you weren't typing questions, and you do still have a question for something that was not covered in the recording, then reach out to the volunteers on the community page, because you're a member. And if you watch the recording, you heard everything that was mentioned, and somehow I missed a subject matter that is brand new that I need to cover, then send me a private message to social media saying, I think you missed the subject matter. Can you address the subject matter in another recording? Of course I will. That's how this channel was created, where people had fascinating questions about EIDL and grants. I didn't know that people's applications were stuck in March 30th. Then I learned. Then we found out they were stuck on March 31st. Then I learned. Then I found out they were stuck on April 8th and April 9th. I learned it from your questions. Was there any stuck applications April 10th? There weren't. Any stuck applications of March 29th? There weren't. That's how I learned it from your questions. When you give me really great questions for everything I cover in the recording, we all grow as a community. But when you don't listen to the video and you repeat a question that was completely answered in the video, perhaps over 10, 15 minutes because you were busy typing an answered question to someone else, you step us all back. So as a community, let's step forward. Let's pounce together. Coming up next is noontime at 11 a.m. Then we have a big afternoon's broadcast at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Then a brand new evening's LALATE at 5 o'clock. Wow, we have a lot of big shows today. And we'll have new economic data across the board. Remember, you deserve these big checks. You deserve these big checks. And we will now be tracking not only the federal stimulus checks, but also now the states. As you heard me right, the membership newsletter will now feature the latest developing details of Maine and Pennsylvania and any other state, because I believe that a lot more states will be announcing state stimulus checks as well. For now, you want to get the federal stimulus checks, A, B, and C. You want to get these state checks as they come due. Become a member. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to the front of the channel, hit that bell for all notifications. Make sure you subscribe. And stay informed, stay focused, because the toast is toast and the butter is butter. And I'll see you next at 11 a.m. Have a beautiful day. It's LALATE, and I'll see you throughout the day.